Okay, so on the back of the the thread today, I just want to discuss a little bit about market structure and kind of again just dive into the potential outcomes for BTC from this particularly precarious spot that it finds itself in currently around 25.8. And we can kind of, look at what the market structure might be able to tell us about this current situation of where we are, and again give us some clues into any potential predictions for the remainder of the year. I think, given the fact we're on the weekly chart, I think that would be a fair assessment to make. So we'll start off with kind of like basic market structure discussion. We know that uptrending markets are making higher highs and higher lows consistently. That's what they do. That is our uptrending definition. So we get our high here, we get our higher low, we get our higher high, we get our higher low, we get our higher high. Right, so we get a nice uptrending structure here on BTC. We can take it from the low of 2023 down here as well. So we get our nice uptrending market structure. We get fresh highs, we get higher lows, and then the system just basically continues. When the market structure changes, when it changes from a downtrend into an uptrend, there needs to be two things that happen. All right, for a full market structure change and a new trend to be formed. In order for a new trend to be formed, we require both of those things to happen, a higher high and a higher low, or a lower high and a lower low. So if we're looking at flipping from a downtrending structure, as we did in this passage here in late 2022, where we get lower highs, right, lower lows, downtrending structure. What we need in order to change that is a higher high, like we printed over in this section here. I'll just cap the whole section, and a higher low. So at this point here, we would say the trend has now changed. This is now an uptrending structure. This has broken clear of its downtrend, and here we are uptrending. Okay, so we get lower highs, lower lows. We get a higher high and a higher low, and our structure has now changed. We are now uptrending. So we need both things, okay? We don't just require a higher high in order to say, well, the downtrend is broken. We also officially require the higher low. So we require both things, and that will be important slightly later on in the discussions. So where we are currently on BTC is we are on the verge of potentially doing 50% of that trend change. Okay, because what we're doing now is we are challenging the weekly low. And actually, this is one of the first times that we have challenged that weekly low. It's one of the first kind of periods of price action that have been challenges of this weekly structure. Everything else has tended to bounce, pretty clearly below any weekly structural low that we've got here at 20,000, here at 25.2. We've had bounces clear, obviously of the 16K region. We bounced at 20, we bounced at 25. This is the first time really we're down here against this low. And the indicators aren't too important. They're important for the other discussions, but not for the purposes of this video. So important now that we are down at the low. Now, the market structure is important, not only in defining the fact of, or defining the thing that we call the trend, whether or not we're in that uptrending situation or we're in that downtrending situation, and therefore where we expect the most explosive moves to be. If we're in a downtrending environment, we would expect the majority of the violence to come on the downside. If we're in an uptrending market, we would expect the majority of the violence to come to the upside, right? So when we get those big volatile moves, and even just taking this, little peak of 2023, you can see that to be the case in this uptrending structure. The strength comes from those big green candles that we see. And yeah, of course, there are some scatterings of red in there, but these are your standout moments. These big blasts of 3-week volatility to the upside that we get. So that's the important kind of regions that we're looking at in that determination of the trend and the market structure importance within that. So we're at this kind of crucial point now in the defense of the low. And the low is very important, especially in an uptrending structure. And the reason the low is so important to us is because it reflects one of the best points of opportunity to get involved in a trending market. Whether we're at a lower high or at a higher low, and I'll stick with the uptrending scenario here just because it's on screen, it represents the best opportunity for people to position into a trending market. BTC uptrend, the best possible place to buy an uptrend is as close to the last low as possible. Okay, so we're looking at basically buying here. And the reason that is the case is because it affords us a stop loss that is on a breaking of that market structure. Okay, so what we do is we just take the market structure trade, as we term it very simply, which is we get long on this higher low region as it currently stands, and we aim for a fresh higher high. So we just aim for in line with the trend. We aim for a fresh high in the market, and we have our stop loss below the last structural low, which is a nice simple risk reward trade for us. In uptrending markets, like I said, it presents the best opportunity. It's going to give you the tightest possible stop. It's going to give you a very easy target that's also probably going to produce a very good return should the market reach there. And it's a simple trade to take. The other thing that it does is when you have these kind of big market structure, especially on the higher time frame, when you've got these big higher time frame structures, it also is a great profit taking point for counter trend positions. So if you're short on BTC, this is a great take profit point. And it may seem like counterintuitive saying that because you might be like, oh, it's going to break down. It's going to shit down here. And so, you would just hold shorts. Sure. But right now you are still counter trend. Okay. You're still in a counter trend position. The market is still advancing quickest to the upside than it is the downside. And therefore you are looking for points of taking profit. And when you get down to a higher low region, a protection of a low region, it's a good time to take profit, especially when you're counter trend. Okay. So these areas tend to be big battle points. We tend to see kind of a lot of battling around lows like this. They don't usually go very quickly. They usually kind of like maintain this back and forth battle for a while. And the results of when they do break are usually pretty explosive. Okay, so they're usually pretty explosive. When the market does actually kind of like go, then they're usually explosive. So we'll look at some examples of that, and then we'll kind of, determine what may be next for BTC. And we'll dive across a range of examples. We'll use the higher time frame, we'll use some mid time frame, and then we'll use some lower time frame to show you kind of the same thought process on multiple time frames. This isn't something just applicable to the higher time frames. It's applicable anywhere. Market structure is important regardless of the time frame that you are kind of operating on. And so we'll look at some examples and then try and figure out what that may mean for a region like this, and then spin our predictions and thought process for playouts from this zone. Okay, so the first area that we'll look at is this region here at 32,000, I think it is, and we can swap back to the weekly for this. I don't know if I was referencing the weekly when I was on the 3-day then. Maybe I was, but it's the same shit. It's the same process. So this area here is very important. So we get this low. Okay, this is our nice low in terms of the market structure, and obviously through this region, this is a very simple market structure zone. We get our high. We got our higher high here. We've got our low. And then this area here is the battle point. Right? This area here is where all of the battle took place. And this is a very important region. This is a very important region to me personally because I kind of took a lot of counterpoints to what Twitter was saying during this period of time. So lots of people were looking at this zone and referencing a higher low region. So they were saying, well, the market's going to make a higher low here. We're going to hold the market structure and we're going to rally. And therefore, again, a little bit like the trade that we were just discussing in the current zone, you basically get long here and you aim for fresh highs at like 75K or whatever. The problem with that is that this is just the battle region. This is just where that battle for market structure is taking place. So you get defense of the low. You get those people that risk reward wise, it makes sense to get long at the position like this. You get the people who have been short from the top that it makes sense in order to take profit down into this low protection zone. And unfortunately for all of us during this period of time, this broke structure. Okay. So this broke to the downside. Now, what happens during this is we usually get that violence of play out. And I think that was kind of perfectly demonstrated through this area here where you get this violence of play out. So even if we just take it from the break of this low here, Okay, we get a 51% down move on the back of that. And, kind of worse than that probably is in this kind of 12-day period here, we do the 45% to the downside. Now, again, given there were other circumstances during this period of time that contributed to that, but market structure-wise, this was a very important area for BTC. Now, you can also make an argument that this area or this break here was also very important because, again, this is kind of our holding point. This looks like a failed rally, and therefore the close below here is probably a sign of things to come. Okay, but structurally, this is the important one. So one thing to note here is that once this broke, price action was pretty violent to the downside. Over that 6-day period, BTC got absolutely massacred down here. Again, keep in mind, here's our current low. Here's what we're currently battling for as it stands. Okay. The other area is a nice one, kind of on the lower time frames, and it's through the same region, but it just shows a slightly different market structure battle, and again, could maybe have given some clues to what then transpired under this region here. And you can see it's a very, very good level here on the daily. So it actually splits down really nicely when you look at this, and you look what happened underneath this low. We know this is the weekly low. We know this is the weekly market structure that we're looking at. And you look at the consolidation that happened before we sold off. Everything protected at this weekly low. So really good, important protection point. And we know that's 25.2-ish for the current market structure. So the next area is here. And again, just an illustration of some of those points that I've been discussing, which is here's our structure. Okay, here's our low. Here's our high. I'm going to take this whole region as the high. We'll do this. We'll take these highs. We'll take these lows. We'll take this high here. And we'll take this low. Just map it out nicely for you to be able to see. Okay, so here's our nice uptrending structure on the daily. So we've got nice broad market structure back and forth between these huge levels that we've got here. So a huge period of volatility that we had during BTC here, where we're moving between these two very wide levels, but all of the time protecting the market structure. So what we're doing here is you can see that every time that we trade back into this region, okay, we're holding the region, we're moving back up. And again, that protection, that market structure protection, you can see it in action once again here. Right? So here's our low. Here's the move into the fresh high. Here's the move to now protect the structure. We keep that higher low. So that higher low gets maintained all the way through this zone. We push back up into the fresh higher high. We come back down. Important region. We're in that zone again here. You can see as we're in that zone, we're in that higher low region that needs protecting in terms of the market structure. Now, if I take this region as our higher low zone and I'll just map out the bottom of this low, look at what happens once we lose that low. So once the daily breaks that low, look at the reaction that we get. And once again, you get that very quick reaction, 30% to the downside. And that breaks our weekly structure. Consolidation underneath the weekly low, breakdown again, 44% downside. But again, the important thing here is watch what happens when the structural low gets broken. Aggression to the downside, violent moves quickly. Market structure breaks tend not to let you in. Right? So once they go, they tend to unfold. They tend to not kind of give you that comfortable entry into the market. They just tend to unravel. So I really like this example here, just giving you like a nice broad higher-low region all the way through. And then what happens here, you can see once again the hold-up, the defense, the battle that takes place, the loss of the battle from the bulls, the unfolding of price, bears winning. Okay. Then the last one we'll take is OP, which is a lower time frame trade and a lower time frame thought process. But again, another very kind of good one in showing the price action on market structure breaks. So this area here is important for OP. I'm kind of speaking from like a pain perspective when I discuss this, and I won't go into detail on that, but I basically fucked this trade up. So what we have all the way through here and through this zone on the hourly chart is a protection of the lows. All right? So if we just take it from here, and we can just go into like micro structure here, and we're just like higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Big sweep, but higher low, higher low, higher low, right? So the whole way through here, we're just protecting lows. Everything here is higher low. Little bit of hold up, strong reactions underneath, good bounces from them, and all the way up, we're just doing exactly the same. High, higher high, higher high, right? All the way through. It's a perfect uptrending hourly structure. We're just blasting into fresh highs, and we're making higher lows. It's a perfect uptrending structure on the lower time frame. Now, the important part is what happens again when the structure breaks. What happens in this situation here? Here's your structure. This is the first time it breaks. As soon as it breaks, aggression. Even this hourly candle here that breaks it, this is a 4% candle to the downside. The move eventually takes you 10% down. And obviously the current move and the change in this overall structure, you're currently 16% down. So this is our break point. This is the violence. Now, OP does something nice here, which is it completes the full market structure change in this kind of hourly period of price action. At the start of the video, I started to discuss this a little bit, kind of more, which is a break of a low of an uptrending market is only 50% of the trend change. Okay, so we get the lower low now, sure, like you do on OP, but you need the lower high to also confirm that trend flip from uptrend into downtrend. Now, OP does that. It's a very good example of an hourly trend change. Here's your high, here's your lower high, here's your low, and here's your lower low. So you get that change of structure. Uptrend, compromise of the low here, right? With your lower high, trend has changed. Okay, so the trend actually changes here. This is our trend change. We are now no longer an uptrending market. We are now a downtrending hourly market here. Low, break. We've already got the lower high here. This confirmation of the lower low is the official change in trend. Now, why that's important and why we've done that big circling back with some examples of the market structure, just to kind of give you a flavor of how they work, is because there's a very good example of what a busted trend change looks like on BTC. So if we take the daily here on BTC and we dive a little bit into the microstructure, this is a very important zone on BTC. So what we have through here is we've got a nice low on BTC, we've got a nice fresh high, we've got a nice higher low, we've got a nice higher high. Done, right? Really nice, comfortable, uptrending market structure. Now, again, we take a look at what happens during this region again. Here's our low. So what we do here is we trade back into the low, some hold up here again, a little bit of battle taking place for that low. We break the low. Bad sign, very bad sign for BTC. Now again, keep in mind what I said at this point in time, once this low is broken, we get the aggression, we get a move that takes us considerably lower, but we have done 50% of the job. We're still uptrending technically at this point. Even though this is a fresh low in the market, we're still actually uptrending. We may be going through this trend change, but we're still uptrending at this point in time. Now what we're looking for the market to do is to make a lower high. So what we want to do now is if this is going to be a downtrend, we're going to trade up into a lower high region against this, and we're going to sell off. We're now going to make fresh lows. BTC's dead. Everything's over. We trend to zero. So we get that trend change. We have the low, our new lower low. We get our new lower high, and we sell off. Downtrending structure done. But BTC doesn't fall into that trap here. Right? And interestingly, if you look at the candle hold up here, it actually is kind of very good around this region because this is the perfect lower high region. Again, you're back in that zone. We've swept all of the highs from here. We've closed below. It looks as though it's going to be the perfect lower high setup. You've already got our lower low now. We look as though we're getting our perfect lower high setup through here. You look at it from back here. It looks perfect. You'd look back at this and you'd say, well, markets that made a lower low, this is the lower high. What a fantastic opportunity to short the shit out of this market here. Swing failure of the highs as well. Easy short. And then what happens is the market just breaks through. All right, the market just busts through and it continues that trending structure. So we get that huge breakout of BTC. We get the huge move. And we're still uptrending because we didn't do both requirements for that trend change. Now, the big circle is now complete because this is exactly what we're faced with now on BTC. So what we're looking at here is the market structure, like we covered off, and we know that this is our important low. What we do not know is what the reaction of this is going to be. Now, I can add in my indicators and I can say you've got the bearish divergence, you've got the loss of the RSI level for the first time this year. This is 8 months. This is the weakest that we've been in terms of higher time frame momentum. This is the best position from a bearish perspective that we've looked in terms of visiting the downside. And we're right at the low of this market structure, which we know has not happened so far this year. That's a concern. What we don't know is what the reaction is on the break of a low. So let's just take for this situation that the low does snap. One outcome here is, of course, that the low doesn't break at all. We maintain market structure. We continue back to the upside. Let's take in this example that the low breaks. What we know from every prior example of market structure breaks in terms of that initial low breaking in the examples we've seen today is that they tend to be aggressive moves. Now, that would couple with the fact that we have the divergence in play. We've got that weekly bearish divergence, and it would couple with the fact that RSI is indicating bears are now in control of the market. So we know the first break of a low of market structure tends to be violent. It tends to be aggressive, and it tends to be a kind of a nastier occurrence. What we don't know then is what's going to happen from that point, because even if we make a fresh low here on BTC, that's not game over. We can come down here, we can trade to 20K, we can have a horrendous sell-off fueled by all sorts of FUD, and that doesn't confirm our downtrending market structure. The only downtrending market structure is confirmed by a lower high and then continuation of that trend. Okay, so that's what we would look for. We'd get our market structure here. Now we'd have a nice downtrending market structure, a little bit like we did during this patch, and that would be it. That would be the way that we would view the market trend from that point on. The daily candle that I showed you over in this region showed you how important that is, that we get both of those in order to kind of confirm that downtrending market. There's a world in which BTC trades down here. It makes that lower low. It has that violent move, and then it gets a crazy rally back up this side. That's a possibility. I don't know what's going to happen on this low break, right? It's just the education around it, but that's an outcome. I think from this situation, in terms of where we are from market structure, I think that we know a couple of things in terms of when we look back at previous market structure breaks. We know they tend to be violent, and therefore you can expect us to kind of, if the resolution is to the downside, and I should add that in as a big caveat, if the resolution is to the downside, it tends to be very aggressive. It won't be a pleasant one if you're on the long side of things, I would imagine. We also know that these areas can take a while to resolve. They don't necessarily just go straight away. We know from the 32K hold that this was a significant period of chop back and forth for a couple of months before we finally got a breakdown. So don't be surprised if we're still having this discussion in kind of 3 weeks' time and this low hasn't snapped. It may go this time quickly, may produce the violence, don't know. The other thing that is kind of a key point is, despite that daily picture and me painting that daily picture as kind of the hopium aspect for us in terms of wanting BTC to be trading at higher prices, not lower ones, and getting an immediate crazy recovery up the other side that avoids the whole market structure official change, is that really is just the fairy tale side of things. Okay, that's just the spinning the story. The reality is the majority of breaks like this tend to just trade to the downside until a new lower high is formed at some point later on, and that becomes the new structure point for us. A little bit like the sell-off you can just see on the left-hand side of the screen here in 2022. You just get week after week after week of selling before you get this pathetic lower high all the way down here, 50% lower than the last high you made, and that just becomes the lower high of the structure. So that's also kind of the downside of this. You could have aggression, you could have bleed out over the next, like 6 weeks, and then you get a small bounce up here, and that's it. That's your structure now. So the market structure is very important for us. The market structure we are at a very important point of the market structure, and that's kind of the purpose of releasing this education and this discussion, is because we're now at a very important point. And I hope that I can update this video in the future and discuss the results of this break, and fingers crossed it supports what I said during this video. But this is an important region for us on BTC, and it's important to understand why we may see a hold up, why there's aggression on a breakdown, what it means when we talk about market structure and the importance of market structure, and then what it means for the formation of price past this point. But also, I'm kind of speaking about all of this from a doom perspective, but what it means if BTC holds this low as well. Right back at the start, we were discussing the risk reward of being long at a region like this instead of, anywhere else. It makes sense. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you would like more education from me and deeper dives into everything, feel free to take a look at the Haven, where you can find all of my educational content, or catch me on stream on a Sunday. I'll see you guys later.